So let's talk about how we use our natural resources for our economy in Michigan. Um, we'll start here. A man came to Michigan named Herbert Dow. Mr. Dow knew that Michigan had much salt and salt water under it. The salt was left by a huge ocean which once covered the state. Remember that Michigan was once covered by a giant glacier. So when all that melted, a lot of that salt, it didn't really, our Great Lakes are not made of salt water, but however, the salt did have to go somewhere and it ended up being underneath into our land. So some people had wells to bring the salt water to the surface. This salty water is called brine. Herbert Dow knew a lot about science. He tested the brine and found other chemicals too. He wondered what he could make with them. He invented a clever way to take one of those chemicals out of the brine. Herbert Dow began the Dow Chemical Company in Midland, Michigan. Mr. Dow started his business here because Michigan has so much brine. So we talked about, why would we talked about incentives and like why people create their businesses in certain areas. Well, this is an example. Mr. Dow wanted to create his business because he knew that there was a lot of brine here. He knew that he could be successful in harvesting that brine and using it for his company. So that was his incentive, and it ended up working out well for him. So about the time, this is in 1897, soon his company was making many chemicals from brine. Now Dow is the second largest chemical company in the world. So their company actually made saran wrap as well. So if you know anything, like if you might have seen saran wrap about when you are covering your food so that you don't want it to go bad, if you want to save it for later. Businesses often began near the raw materials they use. So Dow Chemical is near the brine it uses. Michigan iron ore is made into steel for cars. Michigan corn goes into cornflakes. Wood was used to make furniture in Grand Rapids. So we're going to talk about that furniture from West Michigan. And Muskegon also has some furniture companies too as well. At first, the furniture makers were small. In the late 1800s, they began to advertise. They made photographs of the furniture. They sent the photographs all over the country. They sold more and more furniture. Railroads took the furniture to customers in many states. Grand Rapids became the furniture capital of the entire country. After many years, the furniture business changed. Furniture makers found it was cheaper to make wooden furniture elsewhere. The Grand Rapids factories began to close, but some of them did not give up. They began to make more furniture for offices and schools. So here's some pictures of those factories. Steelcase is an example of a furniture company, and that's still around today. I actually, know some people who work there. Herman Miller is another company, and they actually have a branch if you're driving down the highway towards Muskegon, or towards like the mall, you might see them on the side of the road there on your way that way, in that direction. So, again, we use those natural resources that we have to help make businesses. Those are our incentives. Because we can get those materials easily, it makes sense to create a business using those materials.